What honor is left to us when we have to take orders from a handful of traders who have not yet learned to wash their bottoms? This isn't a lesson in personal hygiene. These are the words of a Mughal official reflecting the absurdity of how a tiny corporation from the foggy island of Great Britain managed to conquer the entire subcontinent. It's a story of betrayal. It's a story of bloodshed. But most of all, it's a story of how one of the grandest empires of history was brought to its knees by a mere trading company. In the late 16th century, Great Britain, a land brought to near poverty from countless European wars, saw the riches being acquired by Portuguese and Dutch expeditions in the Asia Pacific and realized they wanted a taste of the wealth that colonial expeditions could bring. And on the 31st of December 1600, a group of merchants, allured by the promise of great wealth, received their royal charter to set up a trading company in the East Indies. The East India Company was born. The Dutch weren't too keen on giving up their lucrative island and fought off any British attempt at setting up trade. So the EIC settled for the next best thing: India. A vast, prosperous empire of precious gems, prized textiles, and fertile lands. And on the 28th of August, 1608, the first of the EIC ships landed on subcontinental shores. The EIC sent a promising diplomat, Sir Thomas Roe, to Delhi, the heart of the Mughal Empire. His mission? To convince Emperor Jahangir Shah to allow the EIC to set up trading systems within the empire. The EIC and Roe soon realized the Mughal Empire was a colossal economic power with a sprawling army of over 4 million men. Any hopes of winning over the subcontinent through force would be impossible. The EIC would have to find a different strategy. Through learning Persian, perfecting Mughal court etiquette, and knowing which officials to bribe, the EIC snaked their way into the good graces of the Mughal aristocracy. The EIC slowly immersed themselves in the Mughal trading network. Conveniently away from Mughal strongholds, EIC factories began popping up throughout India. The British were reluctant to be kept at bay by the Mughals, and under the hot-headed Sir Josiah Child, the EIC sent a fleet of 19 warships from London all the way to Bengal. The Mughals, under Emperor Aurangzeb, decimated this fleet effortlessly. The EIC factories were promptly shut, and their officials soon on their knees begging for forgiveness. The Mughal Empire was simply too powerful for the British to fight. But soon, that was all about to change. See, the Mughal Empire was an amalgamation of multiple different religions and cultures kept in harmony through tolerance. But Aurangzeb's increasing alienation of minorities, in particular the Hindus, was hurting this delicate unity. The Jats of the Ganga River and the Sikhs of Punjab rose up in defiance of Mughal rule. The edifice of the illustrious Mughal Empire was beginning to crack. Aurangzeb didn't help this problem when he committed to recklessly expanding his empire into Deccan, the hostile territory of the sworn enemy of the Mughals, the Marathas. Under the charismatic Hindu warlord Shivji, Aurangzeb's nemesis, who he regarded as a desert rat, the Marathas ruthlessly attacked crucial centers of the Mughal economy such as Pune and the port of Surat. The Mughals fought back, but in dealing with the incessant Maratha attacks and the insurgencies within the empire, the great Mughal war chest was running dry. And things were about to get a lot worse. Because Nadir Shah, the son of a humble shepherd, had risen the ranks of the military and seized the Persian throne. And after invading Afghanistan in 1739, he set his sights on the Mughal riches in Delhi, wanting to pluck some golden feathers from the great peacock throne. Marching from Kabul, he swatted away 3 Mughal armies at Karnal before he ascended upon the gates of the Mughal Empire, the Great Red Fort. Houses were burnt to the ground, citizens were brutally killed, and corpses were desecrated. Not until the caretaker of the Red Fort, Nizam-ul-Mulk, came on his hands and knees begging for surrender did the bloodshed finally end. The Persians left the city with riches beyond belief and took with them 2 of the most beloved Mughal treasures, the royal peacock throne and the Kohinoor diamond. Delhi had fallen. Nadir Shah had paved the way for prying European eyes to set up their own private armies by proving that the once great Mughal Empire was great no more. And with that, the worldwide war waged between Great Britain and France had reached Indian shores. Back in London, company directors were worried about the growing French influence in India, but they knew just the man to deal with that. The fiercely ambitious and soon-to-be infamous military tactician, Robert Clive. Meanwhile, Calcutta, one of the EIC's many colonial towns, had flourished to become the most significant British trading post in India. Merchants and craftsmen flocked from every corner of the subcontinent to share in the wealth the city had to offer. Once very insistent to be careful of Mughal protocol, the EIC were beginning to grow arrogant. Fortifications were set up against the rules laid down by the Nawab of Bengal, the sympathetic Alverdi Khan, and any attempts at diplomacy were ignored. It wasn't until his death in April 1756 that his grandson and heir apparent, Siraj ud-Dawla, marched with an army of 70,000 men to Calcutta to bring the increasingly powerful EIC to their knees. Siraj and his troops laid siege to the walls of Fort Williams, commanded by the incompetent and ill-prepared Governor Drake. The Mughals were relentless in their assault and forced Drake and his men to retreat to their ships to escape. The British were furious. Giving up their prized trading gem of Calcutta was unacceptable. Robert Clive was sent with EIC warships into the Bay of Bengal before turning into the Hooghly with their eyes firmly set on reclaiming their lost fort. Mughal aggressiveness was simply no match for the sheer military prowess the EIC was bestowed with. It was now the Mughals' turn to retreat, and the Union Jack was once again held aloft in Calcutta. A day later, Clive declared war on Siraj ud-Dawla. But the EIC wasn't the only group hoping for Siraj's downfall. Because Siraj was an increasingly unpopular leader and prominent Mughal officials wanted him gone. Even his own general, Mir Jafar. And in a move that would brand him as a traitor for life, Mir Jafar struck a deal with the EIC to remove Siraj from the Bengal throne and put Jafar in his place. The EIC had taken advantage of internal Mughal disunity, and on the 13th of June 1757, Robert Clive began his historic march to Plassey. The Mughal army was no match for the EIC. Siraj fled, and Mir Jafar took his place as Nawab, serving no more than a puppet leader for the new dominant force in Bengal, the British. British influence spread in Bengal, and the leeching of wealth from the subcontinent back to Britain had begun. Mir Jafar proved to be a prince of little capacity, and Bengal soon stagnated. Mughal disdain for their foreign masters and their spineless puppet leader festered, and they rallied behind the recently cast aside Mughal emperor Shah Alam. Shah Alam, the rightful heir to the Mughal throne, was forced to flee Delhi and had been traveling India gathering support to liberate Bengal. On the 9th of February 1760, Shah Alam crossed the Karmanasa, making his way to an EIC post at Patna. The EIC fought back, and British military superiority prevailed yet again. And after a few skirmishes, Shah Alam was finally defeated in the Battle of Helsa. But the Mughals weren't ready to kneel to EIC rule. Mir Jafar's determined son-in-law Mir Qasim, the Nawab of Ad Shuja ud-Dawla, and the growingly reluctant Shah Alam united under one grand Mughal alliance to stamp out the British once and for all. Starting with a siege at Patna in 1764, cracks in Mughal unity began to show. Shuja turned on Qasim, and Shah Alam was keeping secret correspondence with the EIC. The Mughal resistance seemed more hopeful than anything by the time the red uniform of the EIC's Sipais dotted the horizon line at Buxar. Buxar was a short yet bloody affair, with the British seizing a decisive victory. The Mughal effort was valiant, but the EIC army was simply too well funded and too well organized to be put down by a dwindling and shattered Mughal resistance. Bengal and its surrounding provinces were now solely in the hands of the EIC. The British had brought the Mughal Empire to its knees, and with that, a gateway to the rest of India had opened. The Mughal defeat at Buxar brought about the Treaty of Allahabad between the shattered Shah Alam and the now dominant EIC. And with one stroke of a pen, financial control of the entire northeast India was formally handed over to the British. Mughal authority was broken. The EIC now had complete control over the revenue, taxation, justice system, and governance of a major chunk of India. The transformation from feeble trading company to foreign conqueror was complete, and the plunder of India would soon begin.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up and let us know in the comments which other topics we should cover on the upcoming episodes of Meridian.
We really do hope you enjoyed the video, and we were heavily inspired by this book by William Dalrymple, Anarchy, And if you want to know more about the rich history of the subcontinent, do check out more of his work. Until then, see you soon.